Welcome back to the Accessible Art History YouTube channel. This week I have another episode of my Artist Spotlight series. Duccio was one of the greatest artists of the medieval period. His techniques started art towards the ideals of the Renaissance while still honoring Byzantine and Gothic tradition. In order to highlight this, I've chosen 3 of his few surviving works. Make sure to check out Instagram for a bonus 4th work and to watch the episode of Art History Minute I've linked down below. So, without further ado, let's get started. In order to understand the art, it's important to understand the artist. Unfortunately, due to the time period, there's little surviving information on Duccio's life. His full name was Duccio di Buonisegna. Our historians have pieced together a vague timeline of his life using information from town records and his commissions. Duccio was born between 1255 and 1260 in the Republic of Siena. His first commission came in 1278 when the Comune, or local ruling body, asked him to decorate 12 boxes for public record storage. To historians, this indicates that he was at the beginning of his career because this was the kind of job usually given to artisans, not artists. Starting in the 1280s, Duccio started getting more and more commissions, including a few prestigious ones like the Maesta altarpiece, which will be discussed next. Records indicate that he wasn't the best at managing his money as he was fined a few times for non-payment of debt. There is a possibility that he was married and had children, but the evidence is inconclusive. Duccio died around 1318 or 1319. He was famous during his own lifetime and inspired many artists including Simone Martini, Ambrosio and Pietro Lorenzetti, and Giotto. Today, 13 of his works survive, including a Madonna and Child painting that resides in the Met. I covered it in an episode of Art History Minute, which is linked below and above. The Maesta altarpiece is the most famous work created by Duccio. He worked on it between 1308 and 1312 after the city of Siena commissioned him to create an altarpiece for the Duomo. When it was finished, officials were so amazed at this work that they instructed it to be paraded around the city in a grand procession. This piece is quite large, 17 feet by 13 feet. The main panel features the Madonna and Child surrounded by saints and angels. The predella, or small step, features the life of Christ, and there's also a beautiful inscription carved onto the altarpiece. It states, "Holy Mother of God, be thou the cause of peace for Siena, and life to Duccio because he painted thee thus." Finally, on the back of the altarpiece, there are 43 individual scenes showing the life of both the Virgin and Christ. The sheer size and incredible attention to detail are what make this work so amazing. Duccio utilized a golden background, heavy halos, and thick draping of Byzantine Gothic art. However, he also incorporated some new ideas as well. For example, the use of architecture and perspective gives a 3-dimensional quality. The use of gold creates light and shadow, which means there's a depth to the work. Finally, throughout the smaller panels, figures interact with each other, creating a narrative that was rarely seen before. Sadly, in 1771, the altarpiece panels were split up and sold off to various high-paying collectors. Thankfully, the majority of them remain in Siena, but some can be found throughout the world in museums like the National Gallery in London and the Frick Collection in Washington, D.C. The Perugia Madonna, also known as a Madonna and Child with 6 angels, was painted by Duccio between 1300 and 1305. It is a fairly standard image showing the Virgin Mary cradling an infant Jesus. Records indicate that it was once hung on the sacristy door of the monastery of San Domenico in Perugia. This piece was removed in 1863 and now resides in the Galleria Nazionale dell'Umbria. Once again, we see a golden background and a heavy halo. Duccio also utilized some naturalistic elements. Firstly, there's a genuine motherly energy coming from Mary as she looks down lovingly at her son. Secondly, the angels that populate the top of the work are painted in hierarchical perspective, meaning they go smallest to largest, top to bottom. This is important because it creates a sense of 3-dimensionality. The final work by Duccio that I'll be discussing in this video has quite a long name: The Virgin and Child with Saints Dominic and Aria Triptych. It was commissioned by Niccolò degli Aretini da Prato, the Cardinal Bishop of Ostia, a city near Rome. The center panel shows the Virgin and Child, while the 2 side panels feature saints. These were a deliberate choice by the patron. Firstly, Saint Aria was the patron saint of the city of Ostia. Saint Dominic was chosen because da Prato was a member of the order that the saint founded. Due to the small size and folding panels, it appears that this was a personal object that would have traveled with the patron. As with the other 2 works, there is a golden background that hints that the scene takes place on an otherworldly plane. However, the relationship between mother and child is as familiar as ever. Mary looks down with affection at her son, who looks up at his mother in awe. There's also a sense of naturalism with the gentle folds of cloth highlighted by brilliant gold. Duccio is one of the most important artists in the history of art. His combination of Byzantine elements and new ideas created a unique style that helped forge the path towards the Renaissance. Make sure to check out the linked YouTube video and the Accessible Art History Instagram for more pieces by this incredible artist.